Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the West Indian Association of Service Personnel, headquarters here in Clapham, in the London Borough of Lambeth. My name is Vincent McBean, Chairman of WASP. The coronavirus has reduced our ability to meet and commemorate our war heroes. Hence the reason why you are receiving a video instead of an invitation to an actual parade and commemoration. We have been through the world wars and other conflicts, and we have prevailed. The coronavirus is no different. Yes, we will lose many loved ones and friends, and our thoughts go out to their friends and families. But rest assured, we will defeat this epidemic also. V-Day, or Victory in Europe, on May the 8th, marked the day celebration at the end of World War II, when fighting against Nazi Germany came to an end in Europe. This month, in May, 75 years ago, the Allies defeated the Nazis, and it is important for us to remember World War II and those who contributed to it. Especially, we reflect on those contributions of thousands of servicemen and women from the Caribbean. More than 12,000 left their families and home to join the British Armed Forces, working on the home front and on the front line to defeat the Nazis. They were British, and that was something to be proud of. At first, the British government was reluctant to allow us to join the war effort, but as the war continued and casualty escalated, and via an act of parliament, the rules were relaxed and we could join the fight. West Indian ex-serviceman chairman Alan Charles Wilmot, a Londoner, who will be 95 years of age this summer, served in the British Royal Navy in the Caribbean and later in the RAF Air Sea Service in the UK. He remembered VE Day in May 1945 while serving at RAF Station Castle Archdale near Inniskilling, Northern Ireland. He said the German surrender was announced on the radio and it was the happiest day of our life, to quote him. We were glad that the war was over in Europe and the Nazis were defeated, but soon afterwards the Allies had to win another war against the Japanese. So we were still on alert and we were waiting news as to how the RAF Air Sea Rescue Service would be used. There was a party at the station at Castle Archdale, but Alan did not know how VE Day was celebrated in other parts of Northern Ireland. Those were the days when you couldn't see what was going on elsewhere because there was no television, but radio and newspaper. This is what you had to rely on for information. VE Day party was also attended by local people who had special invitation. They danced all night and had a great time. The announcement that the war had ended in Europe was broadcasted on British radio late in the day of May the 7th. The BBC interrupted the scheduled programme with the newsflash announcing that Victory in Europe Day would be a national holiday. To take place the following day, newspaper ran the headline as soon as they could and special editions were printed to carry the long-awaited announcement. Many people in Britain didn't wait for the official day to celebrate and began the festivities as soon as they heard the news on the 7th of May. After years of wartime restriction and dangers, from food and clothes rationing to blackout and bombing raids, it was understandable how eager they were to finally be able to let loose and enjoy themselves. Colourful bunting and flags were lining the streets of villages, towns and cities across Britain. On the eve of VE Day, bonfires were lit, people danced and the pubs were full of the revellers. A national holiday was declared in Britain for 8th of May 1945 in the morning. Sir Winston Churchill had gained assurance from the Ministry of Food that there was enough beer supplied in the capital, and the Board of Trade announced that people could purchase red, white and blue bunting without using ration coupons. Some restaurants had special victory menus too. Various events were organised to mark the occasion, including parades, Thanksgiving service and street parties. Communities came together to share the moment. London's St. Paul Cathedral had 10 consecutive service Thanksgiving for peace, each one attended by thousands of people. Although the Germans surrendered 70 years ago, on May the 8th, 1945, marking the end of the Second World War, actually German first surrender on the 29th of April 1945 in Italy after Hitler's death, and total unconditional surrender was signed on the 7th of May. In other parts of the world, the war was not over. It continued in Europe on many of the major battlefronts. From 1939, hundreds of thousands of West African soldiers were sent to the front in Europe, in France, Germany and Italy. In India, Burma, the Pacific Islands, African soldiers died for their European colonies they came from. The European weekly newspaper at the time spoke of these soldiers as volunteers, diminishing their positions within the war effort. But the reality was different, said 93-year-old veteran Albert Kunuki, chairman of the Veterans Union in Kinshasa, capital of Democratic Republic of Congo, until 1960. The country was ruled by the Belgians. Kunuki spoke of forced recruitment. I was in a textile company when they came to take us away. Other companies were visited, and all the young men were recruited in that manner. In Senegal, veteran Yoruba remember the French coming to their village for their young men. If the men had stayed at home, i.e. refused to go to war, we would have been shot. This is how some of the colonies recruited soldiers for the Second World War. Nevertheless, we believe that they should be respected and remembered. In future, commemoration and celebration, WASP will honour equally the African soldiers who gave their lives as much as others in the fight against Germany. They were there and must never be forgotten. Many veterans now complain that they were not recognised or paid for their service like other soldiers were. We must encourage all of our history to be taught, regardless of how painful it is. Recognition should be given to those who put their lives on the line for the peace we enjoy today. School children must be taught the contributors of their history. This would go some ways in addressing prejudice and intolerance in our society. On May the 8th at 11:11, whatever we're doing, we should stop and have a minute's silence in remembrance and show respect to our heroes. No one will tell our history or contribution to mankind unless we do so. WASP is the custodian of black military history. We are asking everyone for whatever information, photographs you have of family, loved ones or relatives regarding their military contribution, please send copies of them to us with the facts, and we will collect and display it accordingly. I thank you all.